Good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I'm responding once again to a James Freeman propaganda piece. James Freeman starts this piece, he calls it Greenville County Sheriff shoots another homeowner. So that's already propaganda right there. I mean, he's suggesting that this officer has shot two homeowners now. That is not the case. He says, this is a half-truth, he says that the Greenville County Sheriff's deputy who was responding to a medical emergency call at a house and ended up shooting the 62-year-old resident. So this is a half-truth. The officer was responding to a silent panic alarm that was called in by an alarm company. The alarm company did not state that it was a medical emergency. You can actually listen to the call to 911.
Freeman County Sheriff's Office, Unit 321.
Hi, this is Donna from 5-Star Urgent Response requesting assistance for a subscriber in Simpsonville, South Carolina.
What's the address?
It's going to be 305 East Crest Drive.
East Crest Drive?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it a reference to?
So we received an open silent line, but there is no answer on callback.
Okay, and do you have a cross street or intersection?
I have the nearest cross street as Plantation Drive.
Is it coming from a vehicle, the residence, or what?
It looks to be a panic alarm from a cell phone activation?
A panic alarm from a cell phone activation. The officer did not know it was a medical emergency call. The officer is responding to a silent panic alarm activated from a cell phone. You could actually watch, they have unedited, they have the whole incident play out here. This is another propaganda piece, but this is the police department's propaganda piece. They handily point out the firearm on the floor. The officer treats the officer treats this guy. Essentially, what happened is, well, we'll just let the whole thing play out. How about that? We'll go up. All right, here we go. So he goes up, he's going to see movement. He's going back. He's already rung the doorbell, and he was going around to view things. So he sees the guy in the window, right?
According to the deputy, after noticing the man inside, he illuminates him with his flashlight, and as he did so, the man, who was initially walking away from the front door, turned and pointed his gun at him. In an effort to defend himself against a perceived threat, the deputy fired his issued weapon as he retreated off the porch and subsequently struck the individual multiple times. After a brief communication exchange between the deputy and the homeowner, the deputy entered the residence and began to provide medical attention until EMS arrived on scene.
So he illuminates him. You can't really see too well what's going on there, but the officer obviously perceives a threat, moves to the side, gets the fuck out of the way. I mean, he falls to the ground. He has seen a gun. He has responded to a gun. The camera footage isn't that great. Much apologies. One other thing I want to point out that you just heard was him activating his camera. The way these cameras work is they're constantly filming, just video, but they're only keeping 30 seconds of it. So as soon as he hit that button, it saved the 30 seconds it had in memory and continued forward from there with audio.
Sheriff's office! Drop the gun now! Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
So obviously you can't really see anything. The camera doesn't do very well in these kinds of positions. But the officer's telling him to see, let me see your hands, let me see your hands. Throw out the firearm, whatever.
Gun at me! The sheriff's office!
Who are you? The guy didn't know who he was. The guy's probably in shock right at this point. I'm not a medical professional, but I'm assuming that after having been shot twice, he'd be in shock.
Because we got an alarm call.
Oh my God, call the cops, please.
I am the cops.
Call the ambulance, please.
All right, where's the gun? Where's the gun? All right, don't move. Are you the only one here?
What's wrong with you, man?
I'm up here.
Mom, call the gun. What's wrong with you? Get the ambulance here.
Where are you hit?
And my groin in my fucking chest. The fuck you doing, man?
You pointed a gun at me, man.
You're in my house.
1051.
You pointed a gun at me. The guy's not denying it. He pointed a gun. He saw something that he perceived as a threat. He goes on to explain he was sleeping. He had a CPAP machine on. They didn't have an alarm. They don't know what this is about. But obviously there was a call and the officer's responding. The officer perceives a threat. The guy is armed. The guy does point a gun at him. He doesn't deny it anywhere in here. And there you go. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. The guy survives. The officer treats him. The officer is providing him with a tourniquet here, treating him until EMS arrives. And the homeowner is alive and he's going to sue and he's probably going to get a settlement. But it's not that the officer was just randomly shooting as he rolls up on a medical emergency call. The officer doesn't know anything about it. But it goes on because James goes full stupid here. Now, James, if you all remember, is boondocking. He and his family are in a travel trailer. They are pulling this trailer around the country, boondocking wherever they can. So they don't have neighbors. But he says that he has a position in place where his alarm company, he's got a trailer, not a house. I don't know why he's got alarm systems, but it's going to call neighbors. And the neighbors know and trust him, and they know all these things about him. And so the cops aren't going to show up. Well, I hate to break this to you, Mr. Freeman, but this officer was trained. This officer was trained. He saw a threat. He responded to a threat. And the officer knows how to treat someone, how to provide that initial first aid for things like gunshot wounds and things like that. But James Freeman continues with his absurd device, or his absurd advice. He wants you to put a sign out. Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, it's just all stupid in here. Put up signs in front of your property warning law enforcement never to enter the property without a warrant under any circumstances. That doesn't work. If the officer is engaged in his duty, he could chase suspects onto your property. He could respond to calls on your property. A no trespassing sign is going to be ineffective at stopping an officer who is engaged in his duty from entering your property. He may need a warrant under some circumstances, like to enter your house, but to actually step onto your lawn, go up to your door, and ring your doorbell, he doesn't need a warrant. He needs to have a reason to be there. So, sorry, Mr. Freeman, but your warning sign is going to be about as effective as the not in commerce signs that people like to put on their vehicles. Sovereign citizens like to put on their vehicles. And I've seen there's a variant of this this warning sign that sovereign citizens like to use. That normally sovereign citizens think the sheriff has has authority, constitutional authority to enforce the laws, and police departments don't. They're mistaken. But I've seen them. I have literally seen them in the area where I live put these signs up on their doors saying that that this is their sovereign territory, and that no one except for the sheriff with a warrant can enter, blah blah blah. So it's very sovereign citizen, and it doesn't work, and it's going to be about as effective as a homeowner answering the door to the police by pointing a firearm at him. So it's unfortunate the guy was shot, but I'll link to the police department's video. The officer was investigated by SLED, which is, I think, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Department of Investigations or something like that. It's not a part of the sheriff's department. It was an external investigation. The officer was cleared of any wrongdoing, as you can tell by watching the video. I mean, the officer was responding appropriately to someone pulling a firearm on him and pointing a firearm at him. He had a right to self-defense, and he had a right to respond in the manner he did, especially considering he was there responding to a panic call. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.